This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Pursue Fitness. I'm joined here today by Shane McGUIGAN. We're down at McGUIGAN's gym here in London. How are you, Shane?
Okay, thanks Rob, yeah.
Jolly good. Nice to see you. Been a while. I think the last time I saw you was after Chris BILLAM-SMITH's loss to Richard Riakporhe at the O2. Jump straight into it. I know, as many people who will be watching this, you very, very sadly recently had a loss in the family, your sister Danica. Just like to extend, not only mine, but I'm sure all of our viewers, sadness and condolences to yourself and the rest of the McGUIGAN family after what I'm sure, what I know has been a terrible time for you. So I'd just like to extend that to you now.
Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate that.
You're very welcome. Let's move on and talk some boxing. Luke Campbell, I've just seen the man himself, very, very focused looking ahead of his bout with Vasyl Lomachenko on August the 31st. How are things going?
Yeah, they're going as good as they can be. You know, like we haven't been able to get, you know, like you can never get somebody to replicate Lomachenko. You know, he is a boxer tricks. He's very quick. He's got very good hand defenses and stuff like that. So we have to do our best. And you know, the good thing is that I've had Josh Taylor inspiring. He was fighting a southpaw up until now. That's still up in the air. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, he's been in prep as well. So the two of them have been doing plenty of rounds together. And you know, he's a world champion at the end of the day. So we've got world-class sparring. And then we've also had a kid called Alfie Price, who's a real sharp southpaw. Had a few different other looks as well. We've had Akeem Brown come down. We've had a few other guys. So you know, he's yeah. I mean, we're working on some shots and stuff to sort of walk him onto. And yeah, I think Luke physically is in the best shape he's ever been in. So, and he's going to need to be fighting the pound for pound best fighter in the world in Lomachenko.
Something I spoke to Luke about recently, and I know I've spoken to him about it in the past, where he's been quote unquote written off. I know his fight with Jorge Linares, he was written off beforehand. Obviously had some personal issues of his own going into that fight. He told me that that's the sort of thing that motivates him and inspires him. Have you seen that in this camp in preparation for the fight?
Yeah, you know, he's always wants to, like, you know, when you want to be a world champion, you don't want to be given a belt. You want to win it properly, and you know, Luke's had he's had an upset against Linares. He's always been thrown in. Obviously, he lost his dad as well a couple of weeks before for that Linares fight. He probably wasn't 100% mentally ready for it as well. So, but yeah, he's got a shot now against Lomachenko, who is the pound for pound best, and you know, he's given the opportunity to get the biggest upset in British boxing history and possibly in world boxing. It's a bigger upset than Andy Ruiz boxing beating Untitled Joshua. So yeah, if we pull this off, which I'm confident that we can do, that you know, it's going to go down as the greatest upset.
Would this be your greatest achievement as a trainer? You've had enormous success with Carl Frampton, etc., George Groves. Would this be your biggest win as a trainer?
Oh, hands down, yeah. I'll probably just retire after this. I won't even bother with the rematch. I'll just sort of get some. That's it. Just chill, because it couldn't get much better than that. To be honest, you know, it would be a huge win for Luke, but a huge win for myself as well. So, and the good thing is we're going into this fight with the pressures off us. You know, we got the size advantage on him. He's got the power on him. He's got very good boxing IQ as well. So he's going to match him in a lot of departments, and you know, the things that Lomachenko does so well, you know, as he's moved up the weight categories, they'll be less effective, and he is effectively boxing a boiled down light welterweight in Luke Campbell. You know, he's a massive lightweight. He's huge for the weight. You know, if he could easily fill out to be a light welter, and you know, with that makes Lomachenko's attributes that little less. You know, they're not as effective. So. When he puts his shots together, he's really effective. But Luke's got the length on him. He's got very good feet. I'm really excited to see how it unfolds, and you know, I can see how Lomachenko will get success. But with the way Luke's performing at the moment, I can't see it. I can't see how how he's just going to go in there and just overwhelm him like the way he did against Anthony Crollo. This is going to be a similar fight to Pedraza, but he's obviously orthodox, but he was sort of pot-shotting and setting some traps, and he didn't have the power that Luke does. And Gary Russell Jr., when he pushed Lomachenko back in a few of the middle rounds as well, he got some success. So it's going to be a little bit of a mixture of those two fights, I think, and we're definitely going to give him the biggest challenge he's had to date.
Kind of mentioned the pressure being off Luke Campbell going into this fight. I know we've spoken about this off camera about people potentially overlooking him. I know I interviewed Teofimo Lopez, who's kind of was in line to potentially box for the IBF, one of the kind of quote unquote future stars of the sport. He's done a lot of sparring with Luke Campbell. He's been earmarked as a potential opponent for Lomachenko. He said that Luke Campbell is very, very much a live dog in this fight. I know Lomachenko, after the Crollo fight, was saying that he believed Luke Campbell to be the toughest fight available to him in the division. Do you feel like people will start to come around the closer the fight comes? Do you feel he is being overlooked unfairly in this fight?
Depends who's thinking about it. It depends who's having their opinion on it. If you're just a boxing fan, you look at records and you think, all right, well, he's lost twice, to guys lesser than he lost to Linares, and Linares lost to Lomachenko. This is a write-off, or he got beaten by Mendy, but he's avenged that loss. And anybody that's been in the ring with Luke will always come out and tell you that he's extremely awkward and very good distance control. He punches harder than he looks, and so there's going to be a lot of people sort of shocked that it's when he starts walking on into shots and having a good sort of boxing match with him, not just sort of slugging it out, because Luke has the ability to play the chess game with him, to play that quick amateur sort of style with him. So the boxing people in the boxing, still, if you said to 20 boxing journalists or 20 boxing pundits or whatever, you said, all right, put your house on it, 20-0 on it with Lomachenko. If it got to that stage, they would say, oh, he's got a chance, but if I had to put my money on it, I'm going to go Lomachenko. That's fine. That's just their opinion. So people will write him off, but they know in the back of their mind, they'll say, all right, well, it's going to be a lot more entertaining. It's got to be a lot closer of a fight than the Crollo fight, or a lot of different fights that he's had up to date. So, obviously Rigondeaux was an Olympic gold medalist, but he was at the tail end of his career, and he was very, very small, and the size advantage was just too much. So, that is almost the same in the reverse. The size difference is going to be huge in our favour. So yeah, I mean, like, I don't really care. I know that we're the underdogs here. We're not going to take any offence to people saying, all right, we think Lomachenko's going to beat us. But as long as I know, and as long as Luke believes that we can win, then that's all that matters. Because if I didn't do it, then he'd be coming back and he'd be sort of getting half-assed advice. Like, I believe he's got the ability to beat Lomachenko, and I've said it many, many times. And I really wouldn't be putting him in, because there's loads of other easy fights to cash out, and he could have fought Devin Haney for similar numbers, but it's not what Luke wants to do, and it's not what me looking after him and as well. Like, I want him to box the best, and because that's where he wants to go down in history as a guy that's fought the best. And he doesn't want to lose. Every fight that he's lost just sits on him every day. So he knows how important this fight is for himself.
One of the things that Luke's told me in the past, and it's kind of how you, not viewed, but I mean, you're a professional boxing trainer. You're very much a pro boxing trainer by definition. You train people to fight in a professional ring as opposed to an amateur. I know that's one of the things that enticed Luke initially about coming over to you, and one of the things that he felt he'd improved on was kind of the more pro style of his game, as it were. He's now going in with somebody who has a more extensive amateur background than him. You kind of alluded to it earlier on with that kind of cat and mouse amateur style. Yeah. Are you having to tailor your methods towards that? I know you've made a kind of a conscious effort to get him punching harder, to maybe do things slightly more professional. Is this going to be a little bit of a throwback to his amateur style?
Yeah, but I think when you rush your shots, you lose your power on it, and I think we're not going to be able to match him for speed. We're not going to be able to match him for angles, but we can not just match him for power, we can beat him on power. And Luke's got very good timing, and the one thing is he's got very good that adjustment of distance and feet, and you don't get to win an Olympic gold medal if you don't have that. But Lomachenko's got the same thing, but Luke's always got a little bit of length on him as well. So, you know, and like Anatoly Lomachenko's thinks outside the box, you know, does all these eclectic sort of training methods, but he has a phenomenal athlete in his son. And if you look at, you know, I train my fighters, not the same, but our system's very similar. Obviously, if they're bigger lads, they'll be doing less reps, they'll be doing more explosive work. If they're on the pads, they'll be punching a little less in per rounds, whereas there'll be a little bit more phases when they're lighter guys. But it is, you know, it is repetition and it is similar sort of training. So, but I believe in my process. Luke believes in his process, and you know, as long as we're on the same wavelength, and as long as we're working to, we know the strengths in this fight that Luke has, and we have to maximise those strengths rather than try and brush up on our weaknesses, because it's the strengths that's going to tell. And you know, obviously, and then from a game plan, you can work on one, but he shows you so many different looks. You can't get stuck. That's one of the things. A lot of fighters get stuck in a rhythm, and they get stuck in patterns, and they start trying to press the action, and then that boxer might start timing them. But the thing about Lomachenko is he might attack you for 1 or 2 sort of minutes, and then he'll come off, and then he'll start looking to get round you, and he might try and load up for a little bit, and then he's working on speed. So he's always thinking, and it's his brain that makes him so effective. Obviously, he's a very, very good athlete, but it's his brain that's really, really sharp. And he's just such a good boxing IQ and good thinker. But he's going to be in there with a guy that's really, really clever as well. Like Luke susses people out all the time, you know. And him and Josh Taylor sparring, it's the best sparring I've ever had in this gym. Up until they started sparring, it was Boatsy and Groves. It was the best sparring I'd ever seen in my gym. But this has surpassed it. The two of them are just unbelievable work. So you know, we've got phenomenal sparring, world class sparring. And he's given himself, and I've given him the best opportunity to win this fight. And you know, I just can't wait for it to come around now, because he's not going to get any fitter. He's not going to get much sharper. It's just a waiting game now. It's just sort of keeping that sharpness, keeping him ready, making sure his body makes the weight properly. And we go into it with the utmost confidence.
Chris Billam-SMITH, who is knocking around somewhere. He's usually eavesdropping on the interviews when we're doing them. First time I've seen Chris since his fight with Richard Riakporhe on the White Rivas undercard. Good to have him back in the gym. Yeah,
it's good to have him back. It was a bit of an unfortunate night. I mean, he got dropped, and that was a telling factor. You know, it would have been a draw if not. But you have to win against the champion, and Riakporhe, give him his credit. He boxed well. I still think we nicked it, but once again, you can't really nick it against the champion. And you know, but it's his first time stepping up, and it's his first time on the big stage, and he didn't quite pull it off, but he gave a great account of himself, and I know that he's going to get back to that and surpass that level and then move on. So, but he's a late bloomer. You know, he's a bit like he reminds me a lot of Luke, because you know, Luke won the Olympics at 25. Most people would win it a little bit early or go to the Olympics a little bit early, and then they turn pro. But you know, Luke's 31 now, and he's starting to fill into his proper form. And I think, you know, Chris is 28, but there's no marks on him. There's a few marks on him now, but there was no marks on him up until this fight. And you know, he got dropped in the fight, but he got up and showed his durability. And I mean, he really, really made me proud that night. And you know, it's obviously about winning and losing for the boxer, but it's about the journey and with someone like Chris. Like, he had 45 amateur fights and only won 31 of them or something like that, and stopped one of them, stopped one of his 31 wins. So, you know, he's now punching with some power, and he's really coming into himself. And I still believe he can win a British title and move on to European and fight for a world title or something in time. It's just keeping that confidence up and getting the right fights at the right time. And it's not that big of a setback. We want to go straight back in at this level, and then maybe box somebody else and get the rematch. So I'd like him to get the rematch. And yeah, he looked a little bit gassed at times in the fight. and that's probably some of the rounds that could have gone either way. It was the mannerisms that he was giving off. He was doing he was using a lot of energy, but not being effective with it. But once again, you're just on the night. You're just, the adrenaline, the nerves, and Riakporhe. They've had the same amount of fights, but Riakporhe had a couple of those big occasions where he had to step up and have his acid tests a few fights before. This was Chris' first one, and he came up short by 1 point. So we just go back and rebuild. So, and Lawrence is back in the gym as well. They're both back in. Lawrence is looking to be out for the European title, which is quite a hard fight actually. Probably late October, maybe early November. So yeah, gym's all busy.
I was actually with Chris after the fight. We watched the Manny Pacquiao fight till very late. Sorry, I was distracted. Watched the Manny Pacquiao fight until very late. He seemed at the time, you wouldn't have known that he'd just lost kind of his big step-up fight. Is that just Chris? Is that just kind of people dealing with things a little bit differently? How would you expect, and how have you seen, if at all, the defeat affect him since he's been back in the gym?
Well, if you go to the Olympics, you get a platform. I mean, you get Eddie that's interested in you. You get Frank Warren that's interested in you. But when you don't, and when you don't even get on the podium squad, which he didn't, he went to a couple of trials. You kind of know that you have to go and make it the hard way, and go. And we felt very much like we were in the opponent's corner, which me as a trainer, I'm used to being in the home corner. So it was very much like, okay, and as I said, those close rounds, it can go either way. So I don't think he took too much from the loss, because he knew he gave a good account of himself, and it was a very, very close fight, and he knows that he can come again. It hasn't devalued him in any way, shape or form. In fact, it's probably, people know he's brave. He's got lots of bollocks, and he can take a decent shot, and and he can dish it out as well. So, I think he knew it was like probably going on his Twitter, knowing the feedback. That it's only raised his profile, and that's something that he needs. He just needs to keep raising his profile and give himself the best opportunities, and then, get some good. There's a couple of really tasty fights out there for him. There's that Sam Hyde. They've got Isaac Chamberlain. They've got Riakporhe again. They've got Jack Massey as well. So there's plenty of people out there for him to box. Even Luke Watkins is still about. There's loads of guys that he can get mixing with, and we just need to get back and rebuild, and I'm sure we'll do that this year.
What's going on with Josh Taylor? Obviously, it feels like we've been here before.
Same
promoter, same tournament. The Baranchek fight was shrouded in doubt, I think it's fair to say. That eventually was reconciled, or the fight certainly went ahead. We're now in a similar situation with RUIZ-JOSHUA. What update can you give us on the tournament?
I can say that we've had discussions with Chris Meyer, and we had a penciled date, and now that's been changed. I don't really know I know a little bit, and I can't speak about it too much, because I don't want to step on the tournament's toes or DeBella's toes. But DeBella did also look after Baranchek, and he was threatening to pull him out. So it was similar issues with the tournament that they had to deal with Lou DeBella, and now it's come about the same thing. So, what's frustrating for us is that all the issues that they might be arising, we're going through the same issues, but we're not threatening to pull out. We are heavily invested in this tournament, and we've entered it because we want to win the Ali Trophy, and he wants to be unified world champion. And this has given us the platform. It gave us a platform with George Grove, same thing. And we stuck by the tournament, and they've delivered. So I don't know why they're questioning the tournament, because up until now they've delivered with everything. And unfortunately, it's just come round again, back-to-back fights. Maybe people just don't want to box Josh Taylor. I don't know. Maybe that's the case, or it's a bonus system. So if you lose, you don't get anywhere near the same money as if you win. Maybe he's thinking, all right, well, if I just take a couple of voluntary defences, I'll still get really good money, and be able to maximise my career. I don't know what the lad's thinking. So, and it might be the case that they can still keep him in the tournament. But up until now, we're still prepping, just like the Baranchek fight. We're still prepping away for the final with Prograis. But I don't know if it's the same situation as the Baranchek, because I don't know. There could be a few more loopholes, but we just don't know what their contracts are saying. So we know what our contract says, but we don't know what theirs is, and I hope it doesn't have to get to that Camoso takes the Bella Entertainment to court and stuff, because up until now they've delivered everything for the Bella, so and Prograis, so they've given him a good platform, a lot of money, and he doesn't sell many tickets. They know that this fight's going to be over in the UK. Maybe that's their issue. Maybe they don't trust the judges' system. But yeah, if he thinks he's going to knock Josh Taylor out, which he keeps saying, then he won't need a judging system. But yeah, we'll see.
While not ideal, obviously. Chris Billam-SMITH, the doorman, slow off the mark. While not ideal, obviously, the fact that Josh has gone through it before, the fact that you've gone through it before with Josh, does that make things easier, the uncertainty at the minute?
No, it doesn't. I mean, I went through it with Josh, but I also went through it with George at the last and the final. It was sort of not sprung on us, but it was like, okay, it could be here, it could be there, and that's obviously the tournament believe that they're the priority. Their athletes are assigned to them, and they can decide where they want to put it on. And all boxers, when they get to the top level, they've got an ego, and they're like, well, I want to box here, and I want to be box there, and it doesn't really fit me by me going over there. And this is obviously what's happening with Prograis. But we have to just keep carrying on, because if you look at the final between Gasev and Usyk looked like he probably trained the whole way through. And Gasev didn't look himself. He looked a bit more fleshy. To the Dorticus, was it the Dorticus fight in the semi-finals? He looked ripped and he looked like really powerful. And then he got to the final and he just looked a little bit fleshy. He looked like he might have crashed his training. He probably wasn't. He was probably messing about a little bit. And then suddenly it's like, oh, you got 3 weeks, And with us, with George, it was like, okay, we had to have a 7-week out notice. So every week it went past, it was fine, because we knew we still had 7 weeks in our contract. And that's and the thing is with us, with Taylor, like we've got some good things set in, so we know that we've got adequate time, but we just want to get the right opponent, because at this stage Josh Taylor's building his profile and he's had some really good momentum. He's boxed Postel, then he boxed Ryan Martin, and then he's boxed Baranchek, so he's had a couple of really good wins against decent opposition, and we want to keep that ball rolling. If he's fighting for a unified world title like after 15 fights, it's crazy. So,
playing devil's advocate, should Regis Prograis pull out, what would be, to your knowledge, the situation then? I know Victor Postel has been a reserve in earlier rounds of the tournament. Would he come in? Would you fight somebody who had already been eliminated from the tournament? What would be the scenario?
No, I don't think so. I think if George or Callum Smith had pulled out, Eubank Jr. would have stepped in. So they might do that with Baranchek again or somebody like that, or they might bring Postel in. But I think, there was also some rumours when we were boxing in Saudi, they were going to potentially bring James DeGale in. So it was like they might try and bring another champion in, but we don't know. We're going to just see. We're going to have to sit and see and let them just believe in the process. And obviously we're making some calls and figuring out what route we can go, and with safeguarding Josh Taylor. But at the same time, we're not gonna. We're in on this tournament, and we want to box for the final. We want to box our league trophy. So, got to let them deliver, and I'm sure they will.
You mentioned other champions in the division at super lightweight. Last couple of weeks we've seen unification of the WBC and the WBO. Jose Ramirez stopping Maurice Hooker. Did you watch the fight?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, 6 rounds. It was good. I was surprised. I thought the two of them didn't box very well. Didn't box to their best ability. I thought Ramirez was very hittable. Comes in square a lot. Obviously, dragged Hooker into a sort of firefight and won that. But it wasn't like a technically good fight. I don't think the two of them. I believe the two best fighters in the division is Prograis and Taylor, and I believe Taylor's the best. But those two are boxing each other, and well, up until now they've been boxing each other. So that is the best versus the best, and that's what this Ali tournament was all about. So yeah, I don't think Ramirez is. I mean, he's strong, but I don't think he's that. I don't think he's that good.
Seen some talk from RUIZ-JOSHUA about potentially fighting Adrian Broner. I know those two have been exchanging pleasantries, should we say, across social media. I know Prograis and Taylor are supposed to fight, but again, in this fictitious land, should Prograis fight Adrian Broner, how would you see that fight going?
Prograis would beat him. Yeah, Broner's just he's too inactive in the rounds. I mean, he's still so talented, but he doesn't have the ability to box for 3 minutes of every round. He sort of boxes for a minute, then goes to sleep, loses a round, and yeah, he's always in close fights, but he seems a little bit gun shy now, and the best Adrian Broner is way gone. So, but you've always got to make sure you're up for a fight with him. I'd like that fight with Taylor against Broner, but that just shows you the route that Prograis is thinking. He's thinking Al Heyman, so he's obviously going down that route, and not, which is a completely, it's a different. If he goes down that route, then he's going to be, boxing. He's probably going to look to box Manny Pacquiao, Broner, potentially Errol Spence, but it's a different route than boxing Josh Taylor. So we just got to hope that he's wired, that the contract's watertight, I should say, and that we can get our shot with him.
So just final one on Josh Taylor. I appreciate you've kind of addressed this in a roundabout way, but just to confirm, Josh Taylor will be fighting in the World Boxing Super Series final, barring the World Boxing Super Series season to exist.
Yes, yeah, that's what we're signed in for, and we, they've delivered everything that they set out to do. So, but we don't want Josh Taylor's career to be held up by Adrian Broner playing silly bollocks. Do you know what I mean? But like, oh wait, I might pull in power, I might stay, and then the dates are all shifting about him trying to buy himself time. It's like, if he's out, fuck him, he's out. We'll go somewhere else. We'll get us somebody else, and we'll fight them for the final. So that's the way we're looking at it. We're not hung up on Prograis. He doesn't add. I mean, he brings a bit of value to it, but he doesn't bring that much value. So, and there'll be unification fights no matter what for Josh Taylor once he comes out of the tournament. So it's just looking after number one, and that's Josh Taylor.
Do we have any news on a potential venue? I know Manchester and London were kind of bounded about as potential venues. Anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, we were looking at October 5th, and now it's been pushed back a couple of weeks. So we're hearing it's potentially one of the last couple of weeks of October. There's a couple of venues that's been mentioned as well. So once again, it's all going to be down to the opponent, and if it's, I think Prograis won't want to come to Scotland, so it'll probably be the MEN Arena or London, and then if it's not Prograis, then we might go back to the Hydro, because that's where he sells a lot of tickets, and there's always a phenomenal atmosphere up there for when Josh Taylor boxes.
Moving away from all things McGUIGAN's gym, just grab your opinion on a few things. As I mentioned in the past, you're one of the few people who actually like to talk about stuff that has nothing to do with you. First of which, Anthony Yarde versus Sergey Kovalev. A lot of people, I think yourself was potentially one of them, were a bit sceptical as to whether or not that fight was going to happen. We're less than 2 weeks away. It looks like it's going to happen. Just your thoughts. Has your thoughts changed on the fight as the fight's drawn closer?
It is, to be honest. It has changed a little bit. I mean, I don't think that. I think you got to go with who Kovalev's boxed, and you got to say that he's got the upper hand. But Yarde he's unknown, and he's looked very very good in every fight to date. And he does things different ways. Tunde Ajayi's a bit of a maverick, does his own little thing. Doesn't really believe in sparring. So he has never trained a world champion yet. But he might. The two of them might pull off a huge upset, and that's down to, in my honest opinion, that's down to how motivated Kovalev is. He thought he was getting the Canelo fight, and then it was like, oh, we'll just pencil this Yard fight in until Canelo just says, right, let's do something in September or something. I think that was the thing. So he was training away, thinking that that's the rumor mill that I had heard, that he was going to cancel the fight with Yard and then box Canelo. But then I think there's a little bit of things going on with Canelo and Golden Boy, isn't there? There's some rumours about that, so that he's obviously not boxing anytime soon. He thought, all right, well, fuck it, I'll box Yard. But he could really be taking his eye off the ball, because Yard could prove to be a bit of a handful.
You mentioned something very interesting there, with regards to Tunde Ajayi and Anthony Yard and kind of their view on sparring. Now, it's my understanding that he doesn't spar professional fighters. That's my understanding. I could be wrong. I'm sure he'll correct me if I'm wrong the next time I see him. I've been in the gym. I mean, when you've sparred professional fighters, obviously your guys, it seems to me like in every other camp, it's a significant part of the setup. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I mean, when you're fighting low-level boxers, you can just do pad work, to be honest. If they're good enough athletes, you can just do pad work. But when you step up, you need to start really engaging your brain, and get quality sparring partners in, because you don't want to be falling flat on your face on the main stage. And that's the whole thing. You'd rather make your mistakes in sparring when you've got bigger gloves on, you've got head guards on, and you're in control of it, because if you're a top-level fighter, you'd be paying your sparring partners. And if you don't feel up to it, you might not do as many rounds, or you're having a good day, you can push it. If you're having a bad day, you sort of rein it in. But you're testing yourself every day against people that are thinking and firing back with proper live shots. As I said, all that messing about, sparring amateurs or sparring just pad men or whatever, it's not live at all. And it's all about the pace that you box at. Like, if you hit the bag, you can do 10, 15, 20 rounds on the bag because you're in control of it. But when you got another person firing back, you start getting tired. And somebody that hits 20 rounds on the bag, if you chuck them in there and they're relatively like a novice, they'll be gassed after 2 rounds. They will physically not be able to do it, because the anxiety of getting punched back and having to move and dropping back and reacting to somebody, and when they feint, you sort of freeze a little bit. And when you're boxing journeymen, or when you're boxing people that are coming here to lose, then it's like hitting a bag. It really is. And if you're talented enough, and Anthony Yard's definitely full of talent, but you got somebody at the top of. He might not be as good as he was. Kovalev isn't the same fighter that was over here that boxed Nathan Cleverly, but he's still a very, very good fighter who's very technical, boxes in phases. He might feed you a couple, drop back and throw again. You need quality sparring. You need some really, really good sparring. And if you're just messing about, you could fall flat on your face. But they've got their methods. They've got their way of thinking. It's not my way of thinking. My camps are all based around sparring. But then again, if I had someone like Luke Campbell, who's tall and skinny, that's quite old in his career, I don't spar him 3 days a week, I spar him twice a week. When I had Frampton, I sparred him 3 days a week, because I had to bring his weight down. Like George sparred a lot because he was a thicker set. And everyone's different. When they're on the way up, Jack Hillier, for instance, with Josh Pritchard, he's sparring 3 times a week, maybe 4 times a week, because he's learning his craft. Might not be flat out every sparring session, but he's sparring a lot because he needs to learn. He needs to learn in combat. You don't learn on the pads. It's not. You can work on technique. You can work on setting shots up on the pads, but it's learning in combat. And if you're not doing that, you're not getting the desired results.
Final one on Yard Kovalev. I mean, you alluded to the size of the upset, or the RUIZ-JOSHUA, Lomachenko-Campbell.
Campbell's the biggest upset. This would definitely be a big upset, but Alvarez beat Kovalev, and obviously Kovalev came back, but it's not a secret. Apparently, he likes to drink. He likes to have a drink, and he lacks a little bit of motivation, Kovalev. And if he's taking his eye off the ball, then I could see it going south for him. But like the Lomachenko upset would be huge, you know. And really, if you look at the AJ fight, you know, you knew he had signs of being fragile against the Klitschko fight. He got dropped there. He got hurt by Dillian Whyte. Everyone knew he could get hurt. He got hurt in the amateurs a lot. And it's heavyweight boxing. It only takes one combination, one shot, and that's what happened. And it was a huge upset. But this lad that we're boxing has not shown any signs of that. Obviously, he got beaten by Salido, but he started too late. He was very inexperienced on the 12-round distance. He got dropped by Linares, but he got straight back up. It looked like a flash knockdown. It was a great shot. You know, him and someone like Canelo they don't show a lot of weaknesses. You know, when you beat them, you're going to have to beat them in every department, and like really you have to be a phenomenal fighter to do that. So that's why it's going to be it's going to be that big of an upset if we pull it off.
I know you like to watch a lot of tape, street beefs and whatnot.
Street beef, I love street beef.
But has that been kind of, I keep thinking about street beefs now, has that been exacerbated by the fact that you're fighting Vasyl Lomachenko? Have you watched more because it's him? Have you watched less because it's him? Has it been just exactly the same? How do you prepare away from the gym, as it were, for Vasyl Lomachenko?
I have watched a lot of tape, but you know, you can't get work, because when you get in there and it doesn't work, you're like, oh shit, what do I do now? And I don't want him to come back and say, what do I do now, in the corner. So yeah, we need to have multiple shots, multiple game plans, multiple tactics, that if it's not going right, then we work on something else. If we're not getting success on the back foot, we need to be able to push him back. You know, Gary Russell pushed him back in the later rounds. Salido obviously pushed him back and was very dirty, roughed him up. But he's learnt a lot since then, Lomachenko, because he can be a little bit dirty as well. He can pull people down, spin them, hit them, like, you know. And he's learnt a lot since that fight. But you know, we need to use every little bit of assets that we got and benefits. And if we have to get physical in there, then we have to do it.
Moving away from that, Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz. Now, you have prepared a fighter in Saudi Arabia with George Groves against Callum Smith. First of all, what's it like preparing for a fight out there? How is it different from from the training and the fighting perspective than it is to preparing over here or in America?
It is definitely very, very different. It's a very different culture. I didn't really enjoy it, if I'm honest. It didn't feel like a proper. We went there like on the Luke boxed on the 22nd. George went a day earlier, and then I came out. So we were only there for like 7 days, which was because it's similar time zones. We did all the training here, and then we went over there. So it would be interesting to see. Obviously, there's even rumours that the fight not happen with Ruiz, but it would be interesting. One, if it goes ahead, and two, if it favours Joshua or if it favours Ruiz. George went into that fight with Callum Smith. Obviously, with the shoulder wasn't firing the way it was, and we had reservations the whole way through about the shoulder. So it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like it was a positive place for us to be in. That's not taking anything away from Callum Smith. He boxed a brilliant fight, but you know he wasn't the best. It wasn't the camp that we had the time before with the Eubank Junior. It was like we were pumping our chest. It felt like it was a great atmosphere. And someone at George's, at the tail end of his career, like George was, you need to have the buzz about you, because you're a prize fighter. You get up for people getting excited about you. You're going out and boxing, and it's like he needed that. He needed that energy about, and it just seemed so dull and dud. It was like nobody had a clue who the boxers were, and it was a weird atmosphere. There was like a Saudi guy boxing, a journeyman or whatever, and we could hear it. The place was going off, Like, and they were going off in between rounds. It just was like, wow, they had like no clue what they were clapping about. So it could just be a really, really weird atmosphere, but like it was with us, and that could favour either of them. But I don't know. I just think it wouldn't be my first line of choice. I just think you should have done it in the UK, to be honest, or even Cardiff. Chuck the roof over it, bring him back, protect the fighter. But if they're looking to, if they're not confident and he gets beaten overseas again, he can still come back and rebuild in their mind. If he gets beaten at home, then they might not come back. Then the people, the British public might go, oh, he's not that good. But you know what I mean? So it'd be interesting. Be interesting to see where their mind. That's what I'm taking from that mindset.
Okay. Well, a little bit of a spanner in the works. Well, okay. I think we've probably covered most of the bits and pieces. Can you think of anything else? Any other business?
I'm moving gyms.
You are moving gyms?
Yeah, this place has been very good to me, but the rates are just ridiculous, and I'm moving gyms. So Kent University have very kindly given me a 6-bedroom house for all my boxers to stay in. They've designed a state-of-the-art luxury facility for us. So yeah, we were going to go down for a few weeks for this camp, but chose to stay in London. I don't want to upset the camp, so I'm going to move down after that. And I've still got this for another month or whatever, and then I'll probably look for a unit on the outskirts of London. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't really favour me to be in Wandsworth, to be honest. Like, we don't do commercial business, like we don't do any PTs really around here, so it's just for the boxers, and a lot of my lads are at the level that they bring sparring partners in, so we can just bring them down there, and it's a little bit of a different, fresher air, a nicer vibe.
Well, we look forward to Cribs, the Boxing Social McGUIGAN's Gym edition, coming soon.
That'd be great.
That will be good. That'll be very interesting, I think, with the dynamic of the guys that you've got in the gym.
Yeah, Lawrence Okoli on campus, on a university campus. That's going to be a strange one. Fucking Taylor as well, joyriding, probably like pulling donuts in the car park. I've just got to keep a rein on them. So they represent the gym. So it'll be a laugh. It'll be good fun.
Well, we look forward to it. Shane McGUIGAN, thanks very much as always for speaking to Boxing Social. I know you're incredibly busy both inside the gym and outside the gym recently. I do appreciate your time. Sure, I'll catch up with you soon. But yeah, thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social.
Thanks, mate. I'll see you at the Loma fight.
Why would you say that?
You're not coming, are you? I mean, it's like, it's the one that you don't want to miss, but it's right. It's TV's suffice.
So my partner, it's actually my daughter's birthday for people who are watching this, and I've been, I wouldn't say forbidden, but similar.
She should be going to bed right at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock. So you go for the party, that's great, and then you go, all right, put her to bed. I'll shoot off maybe an hour early, and then you're there at the venue, supporting, Team Campbell T-shirt on, pom-poms on, you know, giving it large. That's what we were expecting from you, to be honest. But you know, I know you're a journalist at the end of the day. You can't take sides, so that's what you're doing. You're not taking sides, and you're not being Team McGUIGAN Gym or Team Campbell
Or Team Lomachenko.
He's got enough teams. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see you at the weigh-in and all the other stuff, but not the fight.
I'm not exactly thrilled about it either, Shane. So let's yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that.
Street beefs with your missus. He's not thrilled about it.
I'm thrilled about the cake. We've got a good cake.
That's good. Gluten free, I hope.
No, it's not. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it.
That's good, mate.
Thanks.